Yay!
It has quite many books for Workman Press, and I was quite lucky to have her. So the dedication that I have in the book, sort of, the World Series just ended, and since it had nothing to do with New York, none of us paid much attention, or even Boston for some of you up here. But this dedication of the book reads, "Roses are red hot, posies are not hot, tomatoes taste great. I dedicate this poem to home plate." And the poem I want to read is called Puppy Love. Oh baby, puppy love, it's like springtime for rednecks. Springtime in the midst of the monsoon. Springtime when all cicadas are screaming their legs off at full bore. And there's a lightning storm and thunder. And Jeter just hit a grand slam home run in the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, 2 strikes, and the Yankees win the World Series. And there's some passion and mooning and spooning and holding hands and that kind of mushy stuff too. But that's mostly for girls, because for guys they're thinking home run derby, firecrackers, and red hot tamales. Now, I was looking at some poems and I was thinking, people ask sometimes, what are your poems like? Or what are your poems about? So, neither of those are questions I know answers to. And, what?
No poet does.
No poet does. So, but yeah, there's that elevator thing. So I've said, well, the poems are, about life, searching for yourself and everybody's answers. And then I heard Sharon Olds describe that poets observe and see things and write them down and that sort of thing. So then I thought, okay, I have a few poems that I pulled together that are sort of describe myself a little bit. And the first one is, these are a few short poems. One is called Pen. Before today, I was a man. Today, I am a fountain pen. And that was actually based on a very old joke of kids when they were bar mitzvahed years ago. They would get a lot of fountain pens. And so this kid gets up and says, "Today I am a man," is what the usual speech was. And so he said, "Today I'm a fountain pen." This is a poem called My Smell. Lilies of the valley, dirt, sand, earth, grease, eye tears, and rain after the sun comes out. Then I thought, sometimes you think about grand things and then it's sort of like, I said, gee, my poems have nothing going on, and it's a little bit more like Seinfeld, where they said, Seinfeld is about, what's the show about? It's about nothing, right? So this is called Plans. Toing and froing, toing and froing, toing and froing. My plans for Saturday. But on Sunday, I plan the opposite, thankfully. Froing and toing, throwing and toing, throwing and toing. This is a poem called 6 or 5. "Tell me your name," he asked harshly. "Give me your number," he ordered strong. "I have no name or number. Call me what you wish. Call me Leopold or Alfie or a number up to 12. But don't call me Fish. That name I do not like. And skip 4 as well. Too square, I feel, too square." I met a fish once near the river. I was strolling on a day like today, looking for spring, and in the river, keeping pace, lolled the fish, watching me with one eye at a time, but certain to fix me with each eye hard. I thought of life's problems. I was glum, and rolled my worries through my brain like a jukebox menu. Fish read my mind, but would have none of it. Don't cry me a river, old man. I've got fins and scales, and my heart pumps blood to the whole neighborhood. I say, let fish be fish, and you can call me Ray. And this is a poem that I wrote. I was up in our house for the weekend, and my wife went home on Sunday night, and I said, I think I'll stick around. I don't have to be at work on Monday, and I'll be there by myself. And of course, what happens on Monday is you're sort of lonely. What are you doing there? So this poem came to me. It was called In the Air. In the end, nothing mattered but her smile. He remembered it in the shower, or passing a staircase, or by the garden where the rose bushes stood as thorns and sticks, still too early in this season. Inside, he felt it when he heard her voice, or when he smelled perfume on a passing subway, or left in an elevator behind. In the end, its warmth left him thriving, sustained, like toast, hot and crisp, with butter melting, nothing else to eat, nothing more needed, honey floating in the air. This is one called Semicolon. I never met a semicolon I didn't like. Why, once I had come to the end of a sentence, screaming period. But no, I snickered and semicoloned it right there. Running on and on about girls and cars, about afternoon treats, where sunsets began to poke at the window, yelling, it's time now, better leave. But still I semied it along, not ready to end, not ready to say, this is all I have left, goodbye. And this is a poem also I wrote about my mother. That, I was in the car and we were listening to Beethoven's Appassionata, came out on the radio, and I mentioned, I said, my mother used to play that when I was in high school. And I looked up the spelling and to get it right, and I discovered it was Sonata number 23, which made me think of the 23rd Psalm. So I called this the 23rd Sonata. The day before, my mother rang me up singing Beethoven's Appassionata, first movement, like it was written for voice, into the receiver. I moved the phone farther from my ear, not comfortable having someone sing into my ear, especially something written for piano. Plus, she was dead 2 years. I listened like a good son, though, like a musician, the violinist at heart, and felt the Beethoven waft across my body like warm rage. What's that sound? My wife asked from the other room. It's your mother-in-law, breaking bread, from beyond the fringe of life. She thought I was a wise guy, didn't retort, but ignored me. And I hummed the Passionata with all my heart and soul, with every fiber of my guts, like the day I was born till the day I'll die. And someone told me that there was a Car Talk Radio, you know that show, NPR? But they were having a poetry contest, and it was some astronomical amount of money for poets, maybe $2,000 for the winner. It was like, yeah, unbelievable. But it was, and you had to write a poem, and it was a short poem, and it had to include the word car or road. So it turned out that I was actually taking the train to Greenwich, because I was going to look to buy a used car. And so on the train I wrote a bunch of car poems, and I never sent them in because I thought, nah, that's not the kind of poem they're looking for. But here's one called Don't Forget Oil. The other day, my car talked to me, called at work and said, don't forget oil on your way home. And air, bring air too. Okay, I mumbled, humbled. Weeks later on the road, we never raised it, as if the conversation had never happened. And this was another one of these car poems called Clairvoyance. Parking the car by the curb when a child in a stroller looked up. You're a cute tomato, he said to the car. Talk to me, man, the car answered. They were each clairvoyant. And this is a poem. Someone on Facebook in South America, you know, you have all of these people that you don't really know on Facebook, but they're all dear friends. And a lot of them like read my poems and send me really amazing comments. And somebody in South America sent me a note that said, could I ask you a favor? Could you write me a little poem because I'm feeling very sad? And I was so touched at the idea that my little poem could make someone feel better and that they would ask for it. And normally if someone said that to me, I'd say, sure, here's a poem. But it took me, like I was very, very busy, and it took the weekend, and I felt kind of bad. So the person's name was Rosemary. And then I wrote this kind of silly poem that includes some puns that you may have to see, but you could hear. And then I set it to music on top of that. But the poem is called Herb Asides. Like herbicides, you know? Now, I could sing this poem, but I'll read it to you first. I want to write a rosemary poem, but I don't seem to have the time. Though I peppered my phrase with pleasantries, I still wrote like an old salt. Sometimes marjoram is, but sometimes marjoram's not. Okay, I'll sing it later if you want. This is one called Startling. I had gone to, when I first got, knew about poetry and stuff, someone was coming in from Texas and going to Columbia to read their poetry. And so she came and explained that she'd been in Europe at a museum and saw a little statue and was so moved by it. And I heard the story and was so moved by this poet's sensitivity to the whole thing, so I called this poem Startling. The poet arrived last night in New York City at the university amidst great fanfare. She introduced the poem recalling how in a small museum, upon first sight of a 6-inch Daphne sculpture, her breathing had changed. After that startling revelation, all the rest was just words. And here's a poem called Do, Etc., and that's D-E-W. This is also one that you might need to read because it's a short poem, but it's got do as in D-O and other do's. So anyway, it's called Do, Etc. I feel wet, not rain like, but dew. Like du liegst mir im Herzen, du. Like call me in the night, do. Like remember me in the darkness of the day, do. Like don't leave any stone turned up, do. Like don't without me.